Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today you join me in our M2 and I'm just familiarizing myself again with the stock suspension. So when we got this car in September 2016, it pretty much went on to Bilstein B16 coilovers immediately. So I never actually got to check what the standard suspension was like. I have driven stock M2s after that period, but we just returned this one completely back to stock dampers and springs just before we fit the MSS suspension, just so I can see what it's like. And a common complaint with the M2, although it's a fantastic handling car, is on British B roads it is slightly skittish and a little bit crashy, and we've kind of come to accept that from BMW M cars on our roads. The BMW F80 M3 is the same. So I'm hoping that the MSS is going to address that situation and provide a slightly more dynamic ride. We've been really impressed with the kit in all the other cars we've tried it in, so like our F90 M5 and the F80 M3. If you haven't seen those videos, we'll put a link to those so you can check those out. So I was really happy with the Bilstein suspension, but obviously it's quite an expensive upgrade, so a lot of people don't want to go to the expense of changing dampers and springs, and a lot of people will change the springs just for the aesthetics, but then you ruin the handling in most cases. And what we've seen with the MSS is that you're able to lower the car if you want. You can leave it standard ride height, but it does improve the ride amazingly well. For future plans, once we've done the MSS kit, we are going to develop a set of custom Bilstein B8 dampers to go with them. But for now, we're going to check the data on the stock dampers like we've done previously using the app, and then fit the MSS, and then do the same test and see if the data shows us that the car is riding any smoother. So I'm going to head back off to the workshop and let Hash and Aston change the springs over to the MSS, and I'll see you after that's done.
Okay, so now we've removed the stock springs from the car, we can have a look at the kit a bit more in depth. This is the stock rear spring and this is the stock front spring. If we move on to the MSS kit, you've got the MSS front spring, which is a basic spring style, similar to the original, except it has the adjuster that goes on the top, allowing you to change the ride height of the vehicle. MSS are in the process of changing this kit, so they will soon be putting the adjuster at the bottom, which makes it a bit more easy to adjust. Moving on to the rear spring. The rear obviously also has an adjuster. The adjuster sits in between two springs on the rear. You've got the black one at the bottom and the orange one at the top. The black one isn't actually a helper spring like most conventional coilover kits. It has its own spring rate, so that combined with the orange one assists the comfort and the handling of the car. And the beauty with the MSS kit is you don't need to modify any of your stock suspension to fit the kit. So you remove the standard springs, you fit the new ones on. It makes it a lot easier to fit and a lot more straightforward. If you ever want to go back to stock again, you just remove the kit and you can put the standard springs back on. That's kind of where it differs from a general height adjustable kit. If you was to ever uprate your suspension, as long as the suspension fits with the standard springs, you can fit the MSS straight on top, so you could have an uprated shock with the MSS kit, and you've got the beauty of a coilover kit, but without it being coilovers. So we'll fit the MSS kit on the car, and then we can test it on the road, see how we get on.
Now that the guys have fitted the MSS suspension kit to this car, we can take the looks, and once we've done that, we'll take the car for a drive and see what it rides like with the new suspension. So we had the B16 suspension kit on this car right from the beginning. It was the first kit that we fitted, probably a couple of weeks into having the car in 2016. And as you can see, we've pretty much got the stance exactly where it was before, but with the stock dampers. So I'm really happy about that, because with this car, we played around with the settings on the B16 in terms of ride height quite a lot to make it perfect in terms of looks and practicality. So this car is always running some kind of front splitter, and we didn't want to go too low again on the front, because then that causes issues with the speed bumps we have and getting in and out of car parks. But right now, with the way the MSS is set up, it's pretty much bang on. So again, this kit lowers from 0 to 30 mil. So the whole point of it not being able to be lowered is if you want to improve the handling and comfort of the car, but you don't want to change the ride height. But if you do, then you can lower it as much as we've gone, and you can get pretty much the perfect stance with these wheels in terms of looks and practicality. So what I'm going to do now is jump in the car, take it for a drive, and see what the MSS kit is like on the roads. So let's see what this kit is like on the road. We have actually captured the data points for this car like we did on the M3, and it does show that the MSS kit is handling the road a lot better than the stock suspension. So if you look at the bigger spikes, they're a lot more pronounced on the stock suspension than they are on the MSS, which should mean that the ride is more comfortable, which is what we've seen on every other kit. And yeah, it's very smooth on these roads. So remember, we've gone back to stock dampers as well now. And the stock M2, a lot of people have complained it's quite jittery over UKB roads, and it is, and it's a lot smoother now. Just feels like the car's in contact with the road a lot more than it was before. Handling these bumps really well. Feels pretty flat through the corners. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I didn't think I wasn't going to like it. It's been really good in the F90 and also the M3, which is essentially running the same suspension as this, but this car has passive dampers rather than active ones. So far so good. It feels like it's working a little bit better in the M2, probably because the ride was a bit more jittery than the M3, probably because this car has a slightly shorter wheelbase. Again, the roads are slightly damp, as they normally are when we're testing. Still feels like it's got plenty of grip. Yeah, it feels very composed. I think the stock car would be getting slightly unsettled over this road, but it's handling them really well. Still fun and playful and predictable, but just better. So yeah, it feels really good when you're actually going for it. Let's see what it's like when you're just cruising along. So I'll stick it in D, head back to the shop and see what the ride is like in normal driving. Yeah, it's very smooth. You can definitely tell the difference between the stock springs and the MSS. This is riding a hell of a lot better than the stock springs do. Just feels like a more comfortable car. And not only that, you've got the improved handling when you're actually driving the M2 like it was intended to be. But if you're dailying it, it's just a more comfortable place to be. So we haven't done a lot on the M2 recently because we've been so busy with the other projects. But what we're going to do is we've revisited the tuning, but we haven't filmed any of it. So we're managing to get a lot more power out of the car than we did before. And we're planning on doing an updated stage 2. So that's with full bolt-ons, intake, intercooler, downpipe. And then we're also then going to fit an uprated fuel pump and see how far we can take the stock turbo. Because there's quite a few fuel pump options out there now, and because of that, the competition has brought the price down. So you can get a decent fuel pump for around £1,000 to £1,200. So I think, you know, when people come to that stage of do they just do the fuel pump and tune the car to the stock turbo, or do they go for hybrid, there's a massive price difference between those two. So I think a fuel pump upgrade and a stage 2 plus map, as it were, will basically bridge the gap between the two modifications. But yeah, overall with the MSS suspension, really impressed with it. I think even more so on the M2 than I was on the M3, and that's probably down to the shorter wheelbase of this car. In case you're wondering what my favourite car is out of the ones we own, it's definitely this one, without hesitation. So with regards to the suspension, the next stage for us is to develop a set of custom V8 dampers with Bilstein. So I'm already speaking to them about what I want, and there'll be two options. There'll be a passive damper with us basically fixed settings for people who don't want the adjustability, and that's based on the settings that we had dialed in on our B16 over the last 14,000 miles, which I believe is kind of perfect for general road use and the occasional track day. And then we're also going to have a set of adjustable V8 dampers made, which they don't actually make, so they're going to be completely custom to us, which will then adjust like a B16 damper does, but it'll be used with the MSS springs. So I'm really looking forward to taking the suspension a lot further on this car. But as a basic upgrade in terms of just changing the springs over with the stock dampers, this is a really, really good upgrade. thank you so much for watching, guys. If you'd like to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you'd like to watch what YouTube suggests you might like from our other videos, you can watch that over here. If you like this video, please click on the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer them for you.